Hey everyone, Kevin Baxter back again from Pro Twin Performance in Baxter's Garage in Winder, Georgia. Today we're going to talk about clutches, specifically Compmaster clutches from American Prime Manufacturing. We're going to go through an installation, go through some tech tips, and then how to adjust them, so you'll want to stay tuned. So, Compmaster clutches from American Prime Manufacturing. American Prime is located in Southern California and is owned and operated by Ben Cudon. They manufacture and distribute products made to replace or repair Rivera Primo products of the same type and application. They specialize in clutches for American V twins, but they also manufacture other parts. Now, Compmaster clutches are not mass-produced. All the materials used are produced from high-quality billet, their CNC machine, to really tight tolerances. They offer 3 different diaphragm springs, one of which I'll show you in a second, to give you a choice of either stock-like performance with a black spring, then they move into a silver competition spring, more for performance engines, and then a gold spring for your biggest race applications. All the friction plates utilize a proprietary carbon Kevlar friction material, which produces an aggressive engagement, but also transmits power fluidly. The friction plates provide more surface area for better engagement, slip-free riding if they're adjusted correctly. All the Compmaster clutches are easy to adjust and will provide you with reliable, trouble-free operation when you really want to put that power to the pavement. So when you open up the box from American Prime Manufacturing, you're going to get your clutch assembled just like this. You'll notice that there's a small pack of shims. These are very important. We may not use these during the installation, but you'll want to hang on to them to adjust the pressure plate and stack height on the diaphragm spring as the clutch wears. Of course, you'll also get a set of instructions. A lot of us throw these in the trash, but read them. They're very important. There's a couple of great tips in those instructions as well. So the first place we're going to start is disassembling the clutch itself. We want to get the plates soaking in a bucket of Type F automatic transmission fluid, which we can do while we're doing the installation. One of the most important things that I can tell you is when you're disassembling the clutch for installation, make sure you maintain the order and direction of all of the plates as it goes apart. You'll want to make sure you put it back together in the exact same order and orientation once the hub is actually in the bike. So it's very important. So we're going to loosen up these 4 bolts here. We'll set them off to the side. This is the diaphragm spring I mentioned. One of the things I like most about the diaphragm spring is the feel. You still retain a very smooth engagement as you do with the stock spring, and it almost produces a bit of a detent right as you fully release the clutch, so you have a real confident feel of when the clutch is about to bite hard. So that's a great point there to have a diaphragm spring. Of course, billet aluminum pressure plate. And then we start with our steels and our plates. Okay, now that we've got the plates removed, you'll notice it's a really nice precision machine billet hub. You'll notice that there is anti-seize on these studs. When we go back for the install, you want to make sure that there is anti-seize still on these studs. Another thing you'll notice on the back, you have a clip pre-installed. The clip will be removed, obviously to press into the clutch hub bearing. And it's not a bad idea just to double check the torque on these studs here, just to make sure they're tight. It's obviously a lot easier to get to that and correct that before you install this in the hub. So let's go to the bike and get started. For the installation, we're going to be working on a 2013 Harley Davidson Road Glide with a 103 cubic inch engine. We'll be retaining the stock clutch basket, but replacing it with the Compmaster clutch hub and clutch plates. We're going to start by removing the floorboard, the exhaust if necessary, and the outer primary cover. We've removed the gasket. Next, you'll remove the primary chain tensioner, the compensator nut. Go ahead and loosen up the adjuster and the lock nut for the clutch, because this will be transferred over to the Compmaster clutch. It's a little easier to go ahead and back the lock nut out now. Then we'll remove the snap ring and the plate, and then we're going to disassemble the clutch and remove all the clutch plates. We made a point to leave the basket and hub in place and go ahead and remove the plates, because this is a great opportunity to check the condition of the clutch hub bearing. All right, so a couple of things that you want to do. Hold on to the basket and spin the hub. We're going to feel for any tight spots, feel for any ratcheting. That's a good indication of a bad bearing. And we're also going to spin the basket and listen for any noise. You may be able to pick up the noise in this one, so we are absolutely going to replace the bearing in this one. And the manufacturer, of course, always recommends that you put a new bearing in while you're in there anyway to avoid any problems in the future. Now we've moved the clutch basket assembly over to the press. We're going to press the clutch hub from the bearing, and be sure to support the assembly by the clutch shell itself and not by the ring gear. The ring gear is pressed onto the shell. Now we're going to remove the snap ring from the back of the bearing, flip the basket over, and remove the bearing. We've made several press tools to perform these steps. If you need to improvise, for example, using a socket, at the very least, utilize an impact socket, not your inexpensive chrome-plated sockets. It's always a good idea to use a press fit lube when you're pressing steel into aluminum to keep the aluminum from galling. When pressing the bearing into the hub, make sure that you press from the race surface of the bearing, not the center. You'll remember at the beginning of the video we talked about this little pack of shims that come in the kit. All right, the purpose of these shims is to adjust the spring tension of the diaphragm spring. Now in most new installations you won't have to make any adjustments because this is preset at the factory. However, you can use these shims to do a little bit of a custom tension on the spring if you have a really high torque application. If that's the case, I would recommend calling American Prime direct and getting their advice on that. But anyway, in most applications you would want a 10 to 20 thousandths from flat installation on the diaphragm spring. We'll show you how to do that in just a second. But as a general rule of thumb, you'll notice on these washers you've got two different IDs on these washers. Now if you utilize the larger ID washer, it's going to go just behind the back of this nut. Okay, if you use the smaller ID one, it's going to go on the back side of this retainer, and what that will do is move this retainer in and out to decrease or increase your spring tension. So let's cut and show you how to do that real quick. To adjust the clutch, we're going to start by shortening the clutch cable completely. Now we'll move back over to the clutch side and remove all free play by turning the adjuster. If you've gone too far, you'll notice that the pressure plate starts to move and actually open the clutch up. So you want to use a light touch with this and just bottom the push rod. Now cycle the clutch lever a few times just to make sure that the ball and ramp assembly are seated completely. Now we want to back the adjuster out slightly. Roll it back in until you feel just a small amount of resistance, just to remove all the lash, and then back the adjuster out 3/4 turn. Don't forget to lock the lock nut, but be sure that you do not turn the center adjuster. We want to remove free play in the clutch cable by adjusting the clutch cable back out. Grab the cable and give it a good pull in the opposite direction of the lever, then actuate the lever, and you'll notice the ferrule moving in the clutch perch. You want to see about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch gap between the ferrule and the clutch perch. Okay guys, at this point, reinstall the primary cover with a new gasket, your floorboards, and your exhaust. Be sure to fill the primary up with about 18 to 20 ounces of Type F automatic transmission fluid and take your bike out for a test ride. You can fine-tune the lever position by adjusting the cable if you like. Also, be sure to hang on to that bag of shims that we talked about. Once you get excessive mileage on the clutch, you may need to adjust the spring tension a little bit as we showed you in the video. I feel it's important for me to point out that this is not a paid advertisement. We have installed hundreds of these clutches over the years on bikes ranging from stock all the way to well over 200 horsepower, and I've never had a single failure. So we believe in Compmaster clutches, and we just wanted to make sure that you had information on how to install and how to adjust yours correctly. To order one, you can call us direct, contact your local bike shop, or call American Prime Manufacturing. Thanks again for watching, guys, and ride safe.